I am Ray, and you will always be the bottleneck to your experience. And let me tell you, once you understand this, this will save you years of misery. Decades even. This may be even the most important thing you see all day. So let us begin. In your relationships, you will always be the problem, but not anymore. Because first, let's think about it. If you get into a relationship with the wrong person, it is because you didn't have the awareness to pick the right partner. And if you find yourself in a good relationship, when there is problems, it will all come down to your ability to return that relationship to harmony. Your emotional intelligence, your ability to communicate, your ability to empathize and understand where the other person is coming from. Same thing with money and business. In business, all of your personal problems will be reflected in whatever it is you do. If you lack certain skills, you won't be able to make more money. If you're bad with money, you'll lose it all. If you have addictions, it's going to ruin all of this, especially your health. They say a normal person wants many things, but a sick person only wants one. Think about the last time you got the flu. Your entire ability to live was really constricted, and you couldn't do much but rest and watch TV. And so when your body is broken, you're screwed. Again, you are the bottleneck to your experience. And what are you may ask? You are a combination of body, mind, and spirit. The body is the most limiting factor. The mind is the second most. And the spirit is not a limiting factor, but your awareness of it is. What do I mean? Well, I'll show you. You see, we are all connected to Source. That is Spirit. And this Source is the source of all life itself. Its nature is love, peace, joy, and abundance. But our mind is like a resistance valve that either restricts the flow of energy or allows the flow of energy. This God Source, you could say, is energy beyond the boundaries of space and time, eternal, limitless. For example, this is why children are so charismatic, because they don't have all kinds of mind conditioning restricting the flow of energy. So they're always in a flow state. They remind us of what we have lost. What has happened? We have accumulated so much conditioning. And this conditioning is like a big dark cloud that blocks out the light and the warmth of the sun. And that conditioning creates suffering. So here you are, suffering. Poor you. Luckily, Superman is here to save the day. You see, this Source is the source of life itself. So life is flowing through you outward into the world. Here's the world. If you hadn't noticed, that's the sun. You like my drawing? I modeled it after an orange. I'm just kidding, that was a lie. I just had an orange sitting there. I thought I'd show you my nice orange. Quite large, wouldn't you say? Pondering my orange. So life is being expressed into the world, but depending on how much mind stuff you're carrying, that will determine how much resistance there is to the flow of life. And where life is not, death is. And with death comes suffering. So you can ask yourself right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you suffer every day? And you can get a general estimation of how much you're resisting life. If 10 was heaven and 1 was hell, where would you be? The closer you get to heaven, the more you will experience love, peace, joy, and abundance. And life will feel natural and effortless. But the more you're resisting life, the more you're swimming upstream. The more life is a struggle, the more life seems difficult, cold, brutal, and short, like a Russian dwarf. So we want to get these numbers up, my friend, or else we'll get out the swords. This is why Christ said, unless you come to me as little children, you shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. Because it is precisely our mind conditioning that separates us from this. But in the purification of our mind, of letting go of these attachments and all of this conditioning, we naturally return back to a state of peace, harmony, love, and joy. This is the most important step because, well, you're connecting to the ultimate, the totality of everything, the source of everything. There's a reason Christ also said, seek first the kingdom of God, and then everything else will be added onto you. Because you can have everything of the world, but if you don't have this, you got nothing. And you can have only this and nothing of the world, and you will have had everything. For what purpose? Is it to gain the world if you are to lose your soul? Answer me this. So we want to open up the floodgates, and your life will naturally be amazing. Most people are outward focused, meaning they're focused on the world. God is like a side character who helps us through our journey. But if you turn within, all of this will take care of itself. Not at first, there is a journey, but it is worth it. And it is simple, my friend. Not complicated like the world. An easy way to sum this journey up is surrender to the present moment. Just be. Because in the present moment is a state of no mind. It's a flow state in which there is no resistance from source to the world. The more you try to control your reality and force things to be the way you want them to be, the more you're cutting yourself off from life. And the more you surrender to life and allow things to just flow as they are, the less resistance you are in. And even if you don't master the spiritual path right away, a good starting point is to simply be more at ease more often. Be more relaxed and less uptight. Just, The more you can relax more often, the more you allow life to flow. And the more you allow life to flow, the easier life is. And the more you naturally rise toward heaven. Now, from a mental perspective, we must know our power. That energy is the force of creation. It is our creative power. That our mind is a tool that directs the flow of energy. So the entire quality of the life that we create for ourselves is determined exactly by the quality of the things we focus our attention on. Have you ever wondered why some people become serial killers, while others become saints like Jesus? Or why someone becomes a billionaire like Trump, or a homeless person who eats poop? Mysterious questions that we ponder. Not so mysterious anymore. It is simply that people choose to focus on different things. That doesn't mean that people aren't given bad hands at life, but that's just the way it is. That is why it is said, for those who have, more will be given, and those who have not, even what they have will be taken away. Because if you're born into abundance, all you focus on is abundance. So you will create more abundance. And if you're born into poverty, all you see is poverty, so you will create more of it. That is why the rich get richer and the poor stay poorer. It is because most people are a slave to their senses. They believe reality is the reality that they perceive. So if I look around and I see I'm living in poverty, I believe that is the truth, because that is the evidence my eyes are telling me. It is not the truth. We must break free from being slaves, because if you live from your senses alone, they can keep you a slave your whole life, and you will not have even questioned what was going on. This is already happening to millions of people right now. How many people do you know who are working a job they hate, living lives they hate, with people they hate? Why have they done this to themselves? Well, it was on accident. Because those who do not know their power, they have no power. So you have some elitist person come along and say, you are misusing your power. I will make you a slave and you shall be useful. And so you become a battery in the matrix, a slave to the system, a workhorse, to be used up and thrown away. Unless you start directing your movie, you will be a side character in somebody else's movie. So you must stop living from your senses. Close your eyes for a moment and use your imagination. Because at the end of the day, there is no separation between the outer reality and the inner reality. There is only one reality. So you don't have to go out into the world and try to fix everything, fix all your problems. All you have to do is turn within. Create your reality from your mind rather than your hands. Because your body doesn't know the difference between an experience in the world or an experience in your imagination. As the Buddha said, we are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts, and with our thoughts we make the world. So you can use your thoughts to create any life that you desire. But of course, this wouldn't make sense to somebody who's living from their senses. A simple aphorism, it's a cool word, huh? Is to just realize that we create more of what we focus on. So you can either focus on what you don't have, or you can focus on what you have. And the thing is, life is perfectly balanced between negativity and positivity. It's not about what you think is true. It's not about being a realist. It's about what you choose to focus on. There is infinite scarcity and infinite abundance both existing at the same time. It's just we have been habitually conditioned to focus on negativity. That is all. And you see, from source, the source of creation itself, the first line, you could say, of filter between source and the outer world is the body. So the source flows through the body, into the mind, out into the world. But this is just too simple. We must go deeper. We need to take a sip for this one. From the body stems the unconscious identity. And your unconscious, which is the intelligence of your body, springs forth automatic thoughts. Auto thoughts. Sounds like sketchy Transformers movie. I'm gonna remember that one. If you ever wondered where thoughts come from, they come from your body. Memory stored in the body. So, life, the source of creation itself, in the pure state, gets filtered through you into the void of your body. And one thing we have to realize is karma. And karma is simply memory stored in the body. It's just memory. And so this is why, fundamentally, karma is responsible for the way our life is. The creative force is filtered through the memory stored in our body and is being expressed out into the world. And this is only the first layer of many. So we have to realize that we do not see reality as it is. We see reality as we are. So the more conditioning, the more memory you have stored in your body, the more that life force is being distorted. Think about like a dirty mirror. You look in the mirror and it's dirty. And you believe the reflection that you see is the real you. But all of this conditioning is distorting your self-image. And so enlightenment and God realization, salvation, liberation, moksha, becoming free from suffering. It's simply the process of dissolving this karmic memory, cleaning the dirty mirror, in which you recognize for the first time your true nature as life itself. You become a pure vessel for life, like Jesus, which is why he could perform miracles, because there was no resistance from the God source to the outer reality. So he had literally the power of God at the touch of his fingertips. You may be beginning to understand why this is so important. Because most people feel like they're a slave. They don't recognize their infinite God power. And so, at the end of the day, you can create any life that you desire, regardless of your current external circumstances. And so life gets filtered through the body into the unconscious identity and the instincts. We'll add that one there. Essentially, our animal body. And that springs forth auto thoughts. But then we get to the conscious mind, the person we believe ourselves to be, our sense of free will and autonomy. So when the thoughts arise, we are able to consciously react to them in any which way we want. We can either be negative, neutral, or positive. This is like the driving wheel to this vehicle. You either react to your experiences in a negative way or a positive way, or mostly neutral. And you can think negative thoughts, positive thoughts, or just thoughts that don't matter. And depending on how you react and the thoughts that you consciously think, they will evoke emotions relative to the nature of what you have done. So if you react negatively, you will experience negative feelings. If you react positively, you will experience positive ones. Neutrality has no effect on your feelings. This is where all of your power is. As Viktor Frankl once said, the last of the human freedoms is man's ability to choose his attitude toward his circumstances. This is what makes or breaks Everybody. Because this is the starting point. We have no control over this. We have to deal with this from this perspective. And our emotions influence us to act. Here we too have the power of conscious action. But also, sometimes, our unconscious causes us to act in ways in which we have no control over. So there are unconscious actions and conscious actions. We only have control over two things in this life: our conscious actions and our conscious thoughts, which includes our reactions to things, and things like our attitude. The simple formula for reality creation is who we are, and our state of being influences the way we behave, and the way we behave influences what we have. This is the slave side of the equation. This is the free side. Because what do most people do? Because they're living from their senses, they say, I don't have this, and so I want it. So they do to get, but the closer we get to the source, the more power we have. The easiest way to change your life forever is to reprogram your unconscious identity, because that is first in line and will influence everything else. So for instance, if you have automatic negative thoughts, it is because somewhere there is trauma. There's a traumatized identity, often around the instincts. And these instincts, for instance, are fundamental drives that all animals have. And if you have a maladapted instinct, if there is trauma, if this energy is being filtered in a way that is destructive, it will ruin your life. And that is why people die and go to jail, because they don't know how to handle this animal body. 99% of all crime could be solved by learning to handle your instincts. You see, the thing is, life would be pretty easy if we could just control our attention completely and focus it wherever we wanted. The problem is, our body hijacks our attention all the time. For instance, you want to make a change in your life. Let's say you look out into your world and you do not have what you want. So first, the mind interprets information in the form of patterns, and the body speaks the language of feelings. And one of the main purposes of our body, the fundamental instinct, is survival. And so every time you have a strong feeling about something, your body takes a snapshot and takes whatever pattern you experienced and pairs it with that feeling and stores it as memory in your body for later. So if you eat a tasty apple and it feels good, your body remembers, oh, when you see an apple, go and get it. It motivates you and drives you to go towards something. Pain and pleasure. So if you have a negative feeling towards something, your body prevents you from moving forward. It says, run away, please. And it drives you to act. And over time, all of those little snapshots that have been taken over your whole life accumulate to create your unconscious identity. That is why, for instance, if you've had a lot of negative experiences with people, your body will naturally cause you to have anxiety in social situations. As a survival mechanism, it's saying, be careful, there's danger. Be on edge, be aware. Like there could be a grizzly bear in the bushes somewhere. That is what anxiety is. It's your body telling you, hey, slow down and pay attention. Or if you've had a lot of negative experiences with money, every time you think about money, you'll get anxious. And we can do a test right now. Think about money for a few seconds. If the thoughts that automatically arise in your mind are negative, you have an unconscious identity that is negative toward money. So let's not forget this formula. If you have a negative unconscious identity toward money, it's going to cause you to behave in ways that are negative in relationship to that money or whatever pattern. So it will result in scarcity and lack in your life. If you have a negative unconscious identity toward people, it will cause you to act in ways that are negative toward people, in which nobody will want to be your friend. If, for instance, you have trauma around the sexual instinct, it will cause you to behave in ways that are unhealthy, and you will likely fall to some kind of addictions, which will cause problems in your life. And it's all either negative or positive. And what this is, the flow of energy is either funneled down into a negative way or a positive way. And this is how we unconsciously sabotage our life. As Carl Jung said, unless you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Because our unconscious is the first in line directing the flow of energy. Think of the body, the unconscious, like a horse. And think of the conscious like you on top of the horse riding it. If the unconscious is not behaving, if it's not doing what you want it to do, you're going to struggle miserably your whole life. Because you're saying, no, go this way, but the horse doesn't speak English, so it doesn't know what you're saying. The unconscious is the driving force. It takes the whole burden, and it's millions and millions of years older than your conscious mind. But what you have to do is you have to use your higher intellect to train the horse to do what you want it to do, to go in the direction that you want. And then your life becomes effortless because you're not fighting against this great beast. So I want you to even write down some of the areas in life in which you are struggling in. There's only so many areas. You got social relationships, you got money, business, work, health. What else is there? You know which areas you're struggling in. When you look out into your life, what are some things you wish were different? So let's take money, for example. If you are currently broke, the only reason is that you have had more negative experiences in your life with money than positive ones. And so your unconscious has painted a negative identity about this. In other words, it believes you're living like in a desert where resources are scarce. And so no matter how much you try, your unconscious will not let you live in abundance. Because to live in abundance in a desert would get you killed. So your body will sabotage your life in order to keep you safe. But all you have to do is change your relationship with that pattern. And abundance will effortlessly flow into your life. And you will not struggle. And all that has to happen is that you begin changing your feelings about this, about whatever pattern is messed up in your life. Same thing with being social. All that has happened is you've had more negative experiences than positive ones. Think about the jock in high school. Effortlessly charismatic. Maybe a jerk, but everybody loves him. No social anxiety whatsoever. Why? Simply because he has had more positive experiences than negative ones around people. We don't get to choose our starting point, but we get to choose our end point. But if you never live an intentional life, you're going to stay stuck where you started. Think about health. I'm sure you've met people who are always sick for some reason. And so one who has lived their life feeling negatively about their health will always behave in ways that result in a lack of health. But the moment you start feeling healthy all the time, health naturally and effortlessly enters into your life. But the only way we can change our unconscious identity is through our conscious identity. Because what happens, let's use the social example again. We grow up, maybe we're not liked by other people, and so we feel negative about being social. But what happens is that in our later years, we take on a negative conscious identity. And we say, nobody likes me. I'm no good. We consciously ruminate on negative thoughts about ourselves. And so we fuel this negative fire, throwing gasoline on it, and then complaining about why it's so hot. So the first thing that has to happen, you have to have an attitude shift toward yourself, toward life. Because unless you change your conscious identity, unless you change your conscious mind, your attitude, you can't do anything. You have no power. Because we only have power over our thoughts and our actions. So you have to make the decision. You look at whatever area in your life that is troubled, and you say, I will refuse to live this life any longer. I deserve better. You take a stand for yourself. And once you take a stand for yourself, you decide to change for the better. You point your mind upward toward improving your life. Now you will begin naturally paying attention to all the ways you are sabotaging your life. Because when you sabotage your life, you're going against this new way of being. You now have a vested interest in paying attention to all the ways you're ruining your life. And once you become aware, you now have the power to stop ruminating on negative thoughts. Until you stop throwing gasoline on the fire, my friend, there's not much that can be done. Because think about in a social interaction with somebody else. If you allow thoughts like, oh, I'm so awkward. I shouldn't have said that. Nobody likes me. You're just fueling that unconscious identity, creating the exact reality that you're trying to avoid. If you're broke and want more money, but then you look at your bank account and you say, oh, I'm so worried. How am I going to make ends meet? You continue to ruminate on the fear and the worry and the concern. You're creating the exact life that you're trying to avoid. Same thing with relationships. If you have an intimate partner and you're always worried that, oh, are they going to cheat on me? Yes, they will. Because you're ruminating on these negative thoughts, which is creating a negative state of being, which will result in a negative life. And then when it happens, you say, oh, I knew it, I predicted the future. But no, the truth is we are always unconsciously believing negativity into existence. But if you don't know your power, you can't do anything about it. And if you've been screwed over in the past, you're going to have negative feelings, negative relationship with relationships in which your unconscious, your body, will evoke natural fear and worry and concern and negativity, in which then it is your choice on how you react to that fear. It is not wrong to have fear or worry or guilt or shame. It's not wrong to have any feeling. The question is, will you continue to fuel that fire or put it out? So I encourage you, take just one area of your life that you would like to change and focus on that. And once you succeed at changing your unconscious identity around one pattern, you can now do it with anything because you know how to create your reality. You become a conscious creator and live an intentional life. And you will see how things just randomly change almost. Synchronicities, opportunities that seem too good to be true. This is why Neville Goddard said feeling is the secret. Because until you reprogram that unconscious identity, you'll always be fighting an uphill battle. Now here's the rub. If you want to stay on the slave side of the equation, I cannot help you. But if you want to be free, you focus your mind one-pointedly towards self-mastery, toward yourself, because you will always be the bottleneck to your experience. And so if you're busy focusing on the world and other people and the system, you're just wasting your time. This, at the end of the day, is the only thing that matters. And you might say, well, it's kind of selfish to only think about yourself, is it not? This is the most selfless thing you could ever do. Because in essence, you're creating the greatest version of yourself and giving yourself away as an offering to the world. But nobody wants a crappy gift. So it doesn't make any sense to try and go and help everybody until you begin mastering yourself. Now that doesn't mean you don't help people in the meantime. It just means that you change your priorities. Because you cannot fill the cup of another unless your cup is overflowing. And so the secret is, everything you do is not toward getting things. It is toward optimizing your state of being. This is what you could say is your point of attraction. The more often your state of being is positive, the more you will attract more positive things into your life. Because it will cause you to think better thoughts, do better things, and have a better life. But the more often your state of being is negative, it will create the opposite. So instead of focusing on what you have to do, oh, I just have to do this, I'm forced to do this, that's going to make you feel negative and like a slave. As Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. Do more things that give you joy for no reason. Peace and love. When you follow your bliss, you know you're making your way toward heaven. And when you're separated from these things, you know you've strayed. Have more fun. Do what you want to do and less of what you don't want to do. And you must have the wisdom to understand that indulging in temporary pleasures does not really bring you happiness. You know the difference between true joy and temporary pleasure. The more you have fun, the more you will have a fun life. And even if you're forced to currently work a job you hate, the mind can only focus on one thing at a time. So you're either focusing on what you don't have, or you're focusing on what you do, or what you want. Focus on your desired reality, not on your current one. You have to begin suspending disbelief of your current situation and live from your imagination. Because when you're focusing on all the good things that are coming, on all the good things that you want, you're taking your attention on all the ways that life is not currently the way you want it to be. But when you're focusing on all the ways that life sucks, you're only going to create more suck. So let's say you wake up and you have to go to work to survive. You can either begin the day ruminating on all kinds of negativity, on how much you hate your life and how much you hate your job and the people who you work with, or you can begin saying, something wonderful is going to happen to me today. I love my life. I love everything. And you will see how your stupid job magically becomes not so stupid. But that it was not the job that was the problem, it was your state of mind. Eventually you will realize that the only prison in existence is your own mind. And this prison is made up of nothing but thoughts. And you are the jailer. You imprison yourself by allowing the fear, the negativity. And the moment you change your attitude toward life, life changes its attitude toward you. Because life is a reflection of you. Because life is being filtered through us and being projected out onto the world. Which is why they say, the way you see the world is a confession of character. Because you are the world. Well, if you ever notice some people who are always gloom and doom. Oh, the world is going down the toilet. No, they are going down the toilet. So that is all they see, is poop. But the moment you become free, and you stop being blinded by all your nonsense conditioning, you realize that life is perfect. Not only is life perfect, it's effortlessly enjoyable. There is effortless peace, joy, fun, abundance. These things are the default state. And we like to think in our adult minds that we have the knowledge of the way life is. But we have sacrificed wisdom for knowledge. That's a bad deal. And you see that the children, they have the wisdom. Because they are most in touch with their soul, with source, with life. But we have suppressed our authentic nature. And we've begun wearing these masks. And so we're all faking. We're mother fakers. You learn to stop judging yourself. You learn to stop judging life. Because when you judge something negatively, all you're doing is reinforcing a negative reality. That is all. You're not being a realist. Oh, this is the way that life is. No, that is the way life is for you. And just because other people think the same thing doesn't mean it's true. And even if it is true, it doesn't have to be. Because there is such thing as paradox. And paradox is when two things that are seemingly opposite both appear to be true from different perspectives. So whatever you believe to be true will be true for you. So stop coming to these conclusions about the way life is. Because that is just a thought. It's just an idea that we believe in. And if that idea is not serving your joy, peace, love, then it's useless. Because it's doing nothing for you but keeping you a slave and ruining your life. And you get to choose to believe in whatever you want to believe. There's no rule book that says you have to believe a single thought your mind tells you. So the trick is, anytime you find yourself in a negative state, go and do some intense exercise. And that negative state of being cannot survive. Because through exercise, you're circulating the life energy within you. Raising your state of being instantly. You could do squats or push-ups or go to the gym or go for a jog. It doesn't matter. Do something. Go for a walk. Get some sunlight and fresh air. I like to say, if you want to live a terrible life, have a still body and an active mind. And if you want to live a great life, have an active body and a still mind. And this is why so many people struggle with mental health. We have been cut off from our bodies. Too much intellectual, too much knowledge. So all of our energy is being circulated in our head space. And none of it is being circulated throughout our body. So we have become imbalanced. And imbalance is death. We cut off the flow of life. And so we suffer miserably with depression, with anxiety, mental health issues. And it can all be cured by returning to a state of inner harmony. Because the problem is a lack of harmony. Let everything you do be to raise your state of being. In the morning, first thing, repeat some positive affirmations. Set the tone for the day. Don't allow your negative thoughts to just snowball out of control. If you were to just, every morning, repeat positive thoughts, in 30 days, your life would be completely unrecognizable. Just from that alone. When you first wake up in the morning, don't just get out of bed. Don't just allow the alarm clock to shock you into a fight or flight response. See if you can marinate in that nice, cozy, comfortable feeling that you first experience in the morning. Stay in bed for an extra 15 to 20 minutes, why don't you? And just focus on that good feeling. And when you focus on that good feeling, repeat positive thoughts like, I love life. Something wonderful is going to happen today. I can't wait. I'm so excited to be alive. I love myself. I love my body. Doesn't matter what. I love being rich. Whatever you need in life. And do more things to take care of your body. Which means hydrate. Drink some water with some sea salt. Go get some sun. Do a few stretches. Why don't you? Maybe go for a walk. Maybe do some deep breathing exercises. You could have a 30-minute morning routine that absolutely changes your life. But you have to be focused in the right direction. You have to be focused on improving your life, making life better. And the thing is, once you're pointed in the right direction, it doesn't matter how slow you go. You've already arrived to your destination. It's already guaranteed that you make it. But if you're not pointed in the right direction, it doesn't matter how fast you go, you will never make it anywhere. At least anywhere you want to go. It all begins with a fundamental attitude shift toward life. To take a stand and say, I deserve better. I deserve to live a good life, and I shall have one. And now you know your power. Now you know how to do it. And it all begins with raising your state of being. If that's the only thing you focus on, what you do and what you have will be effortless. But if you ignore this side and just try to get what you want, you will always be a slave. You will always struggle, and somebody else will come along and say, you are not using your power wisely. The whip for you. Don't make me get out the swords. And when you do these things, it should be fun. Because think about how some people approach exercise. They live from slavery. They say, I want to be healthy, and so I have to do exercise. And so they force themselves to do exercise even though they don't want to. Or, I want to be healthy, so I have to eat salad. And so they force themselves to do things they don't want to do. But if you make the process fun, and you develop a positive relationship with exercise, it doesn't take any effort to do it. Or if you find that eating healthy is actually fun, you find ways to enjoy the process, then it becomes effortless. But if you are dragging yourself along like a slave, then of course it's going to be difficult. Eat foods that make you feel better. That is all. Don't get so caught up in, I gotta eat this or I gotta eat that. Feel your way to a better life. When you go and exercise, do the exercise that you love to do. Take it easy. Enjoy the process. Do things that are fun. And with positive thoughts, don't just try to force yourself to always be thinking positive. I gotta think positive. Let it be natural. Let it flow. Sometimes, sure, you use a bit of discipline to raise your state of being. But I, for instance, probably use no more than 5% discipline ever. Because I have a positive relationship with all the good things. With exercise. With positive thinking. With breathing. I like breathing. So you either have a negative attitude towards something or a positive one. And that will determine your level of struggle. At the end of the day, if you take nothing else from this, do your best to feel better more often. Because the better feeling version of you will naturally engage in better decisions, which will naturally lead to a better life. I am Ray. Visit my cool store. Much peace and many blessings, and remember, just be.